Hey, my name is Tim. I'm glad that you're here to listen to this. I've been sitting there for the last, 10 minutes trying to figure out, how do you start something like getting to know who I am without sounding pretentious or like you're trying to script something. So I started saying, well, if I was going to explain to somebody what I'm like, what would those what would I say? Well, I'd say that one thing is Tim is very, very intense person. He's also a mystic kind of person that sees God working all around him and sees life in terms of like direct revelations of things. So he's very, very intense, and as we carry on over the days and months, you'll see that. The other thing that, defines me in a lot of ways is having grown up in East Africa. I really consider myself as having coming from Nairobi. Nairobi being the capital of Kenya, about 6,000 feet in the Rift Valley. Land of eternal spring. When the Brits came and colonized Africa, they went up to the high country in Kenya, and that's where they grew their finest coffee beans. That even this morning I enjoyed a Kenya Arabica coffee bean. And some of my fondest memories as a kid were spent in those coffee plantations up around Limuru, Kenya, outside of Nairobi. So when I start talking about who I am and what I'm about, there's just so many levels that are, like when you're in archaeology and you look and you see how they're very distinct levels, and you can see in the like this will be kind of a lighter brown, and then you'll have a darker brown there, and that might have been where an asteroid had hit or a big fire in that area. And I think in a lot of my life has been kind of like that. It hasn't been as bad luck. It hasn't been as much a smooth kind of transition from one to the other. It seemed like I would have a totally different. Well, I can give you an example. Like when I was in 8th grade, I was in the Nairobi International School, which was a school in Nairobi which was made up of almost entirely diplomats, CEO kids. There were probably at least 60 different nations represented in that school. And I go from that to Georgetown, Texas, to where these kids that I'm going to high school with, a lot of them have never been outside the state of Texas, man. So that was a real different culture, and it's hard to say, okay, here we are in Nakuru, Kenya, and then all of a sudden, bang, we're here in Georgetown, Texas. So I've been blessed with having a wide variety of experiences in my life, and I hope to get a lot of this out there because I think some of y'all might find it interesting.